Got a big rainbow on here, guys. Chip down, chip down, chip down. Chip it, chip down. Down, down, down. 2 feet below the surface. You do a little like that. Stop. There. Fix.
Good job, Darren.
That's good.
That's big. That's what the Trout Tricks worm can do. Woo! White worm, 15 feet, and you fought that fish like a friggin' pro, dude. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. We are gonna talk about trolling for trout with soft plastics. I would never say I was the guy that pioneered soft plastic trolling. Guys were pulling, curly-tailed grubs long before I ever started pulling soft plastics, but I did take things to a whole nother level with innovative shapes, innovative presentations, stuff like that. Now, this is the box of soft plastics that I carry on every single guide trip when I'm out on the water. Guys will see this box sitting there by the helm of the boat. They'll look at it, they see the bright colors, and they ask a lot of questions about pulling soft plastics because it's something that's new to them. It's something that they see as innovative, definitely out of the norm. Bait. Maybe you're a power troller. You like to go out. You like to pull the speedy shiners. You like to pull the rapalas. Maybe you pull some speed spoons, stuff like that. You're a power troller. You hit the water, you work your favorite areas, and the fish just aren't responding to those aggressive presentations. Soft plastics are a great bait to pull out at that point to generate strikes that you're just not able to get, on any given day when you're pulling the fast stuff. So let's kind of dive into my box of soft plastics here and talk about why they work and how you might employ them, to catch more and bigger fish throughout the course of the season. So as of now, these are the 3 soft plastics you'll find in my tackle kit. I have 3-inch curly-tailed grubs in a variety of colors. This is a Catch America white glow grub right here. Great color in off-colored water, deep water, stuff like that. Soaks in that sunlight, it glows, and I've had some great fishing on these. My other bait is the Trout Tricks minnow right there. Again, they come in a variety of colors. Orange is one of my favorites, but they come in natural colors, pinks, stuff like that. And last, but certainly not least, is the Trout Tricks worm, and that's a pink Trout Tricks worm right there. A lot of guys ask, do you need all these different shapes? And the answer is yes, and I'll tell you why. I firmly believe that the first interaction trout have with our presentations most of the time, whether we're pulling a spoon or a plug or a fly or a soft plastic, is vibration. Have you ever been out on the water and maybe your fishing partner's pulling a needlefish and then you put on a Castmaster and maybe those spoons are the same color, but you're catching fish after fish after fish on your gold Castmaster and he can't get hit on his gold needlefish. I believe that comes down to the vibration, the impulses that the bait puts off. On that given day, the trout are more drawn to the impulses being put off by your Castmaster. They come in to check it out, they decide they like it, and they hit it. I think vibration, we all know that vibration is an important factor in creating strikes from trout. But oftentimes, I think we underestimate just how big a role vibration plays in day-to-day trout fishing success. Again, I think the first interaction trout have with our gear most days is that they sense or they feel the vibration. And if they like that, if it appeals to them, then they move in close enough, assess the bait, and maybe smell once they come in to assess it. Smell, using scent can tip the odds in your favor. Maybe it's color. Maybe they want pink and not orange. Stuff like that. So when it comes to soft plastics, the shape produces the vibration. The Trout Tricks worm, it is the most erratic bait in my lineup, but it doesn't put off the most vibration. It really, displaces a relatively small amount of water. It doesn't have a lot of surface area. What it does have is a very erratic, unpredictable action. If the fish like the vibration and come in, that unpredictable action triggers a lot of strikes. Now, the Trout Tricks minnow, it's a lot subtler than the worm. It's not as erratic. It has a much tighter wiggle. It puts off about the same amount of vibration, I would assume, as the worm, but it's a different type of vibration. While the worm is erratic and it doesn't displace much water, the minnow has a much more defined swimming action. It still has the unpredictable movement at times, but it's a much tighter action in general. Looks more like a minnow swimming through the water. So the vibration profile of these two baits is different. I believe that the grub puts off the most vibration of any of the three baits. That tail is very large. It moves very rapidly. Now, sometimes I'll fish these without adding an action disc to them. I'll just pull the grub. Some days that works well. Other days, I incorporate the action disc to add just that much more action to the presentation when I'm pulling grubs. Once you kind of figure out what bait the fish are most attracted to when you start getting strikes, let's say you're getting strikes on a pink worm like this, that's a time to start playing with color. If they're hitting pink like this, maybe they'll hit bubblegum pink better, or maybe they'll hit white better. That's when you can start making those subtle changes and really dial in the bite. The same is true of the minnow or the grub. Maybe you're getting some fish on the grub with that action disc added to it, but try running one without the action disc. Maybe that'll perform even better. A lot of guys ask me how I approach color selection. And, I approach color selection of plastics the same way I approach color selection of spoons or plugs or flies. You've got your natural bias. You've got colors that you favor more over other colors. You have more confidence in those colors. Some guys love fire tiger. They catch a lot of fish on fire tiger. I'm not a huge fire tiger fan. As a result, I don't fish it as often and I don't catch as many fish on it. It's not one of my confidence presentations. So when you get out on the water, you've got to make an educated guess. What do the fish feed on? Are they planted fish? Are they holdover fish? Are they wild fish? If you're up at Shasta and you're targeting wild fish, well, you might want to start out with a white bait or a natural colored bait, something that matches the threadfin shad that those fish most often feed on. If you're at a place like this, like Collins Lake, where you're dealing with a lot of planted trout, maybe you want to go with some of the brighter stuff. Maybe you're up at a bug lake in the Sierras where the fish feed predominantly on natural, naturally occurring insects. In that situation, your bright colors will almost always outperform your more subtle colors. So I approach the color selection on the soft plastics the same way that I'd approach selecting a spoon color. Go with your confidence, make an educated guess, and again, once you start getting hit, make those subtle changes and see if you can really dial that bite in. You can often turn a mediocre bite into a really good bite by making some subtle changes, and that is really true with the plastics. One of the final things to think about when you're thinking about plastics is how well these baits hold scent. They hold scent really well. They pair really well with a variety of different scents. I like my trigger scent. I think that's a good all-around scent. I also like to coat these in garlic at times. When the water's cold and muddy, garlic is always a winner. And when the water is clear and somewhat warm, I found that sweet corn can be a really good choice. It's kind of like color, though. If you have a scent that you're really confident in, by all means, pair it with the soft plastics. For me, right now, probably 80% of the time I'm going with my trigger scent. My water's still pretty muddy here at Collins. This is my primary lake right now because I'm guiding here. I played with the corn a little bit. Hasn't really started working yet, but that baitfish anise profile in the trigger scent is paying off for me. final thought on soft plastics and why I like these baits so much. I've said this before on the channel. Black bass anglers rely heavily on soft plastics because they move like real forage. They feel like real forage. When the fish hit them, the fish hang on, and they're relatively inexpensive baits. You can get a whole sack of grubs for what you'd pay for one spoon or one plug. They're extremely versatile. They don't work every day. Some tackle guys will say, my lures work every day. That's not true. There's nothing that works every day. But I'll tell you what, day in, day out, I can almost always catch at least a few fish on soft plastics. Today's a great example. Actually, this week is a great example. I've been catching fish on night crawlers, been catching a few fish on flies and plugs, and I've been catching, probably almost as many fish on soft plastics as I've been catching on a natural night crawler. Big fish for the week, pushing 7 pounds. It came on a white Trout Tricks worm, trolled about 10 feet deep. Fishing with confidence, fish them often, and you will become a believer in the effectiveness of soft plastic trolling baits. If you're looking for grubs, if you're looking for Trout Tricks worms, Trout Tricks minnows, get on up to catchamerica.com. We offer kits. Get yourself a kit of each, get them wet, and get ready to yell fish on, because these are flat out deadly baits. I'll catch you next time. I'm Cal Kellogg. You have a great day, and we'll be talking fishing tactics again real soon.